Okay, yes, right here in the front.
This question goes out to Daisy, Adam, John, and Oscar. Last Force Awakens, you were the new kids on the block. You had Carrie, Harrison, and Mark to set the tone and lead the way for you to step into these roles. You guys are now leading the way for a next generation of actors to come into the Star Wars world. How much did that place any kind of onus on you and any sense of responsibility in addition to that inherent to your performances?
No, I don't think so. In that, the lesson that I learned from the first one from Mark, Carey, and Harrison is the not so much telling you, and other people that I've worked with, is not telling you what your experience is going to be, because we're all different and we see the world differently. That's kind of an obvious thing, but kind of similar to almost the question before. It's hard to impose an idea on someone that you kind of don't know. I think it's everyone's relationship to certainly within them, I would imagine, is different, and that's kind of for them to discover. And it's almost more generous to, give someone space to make it personal to them. I'm not really sure what that means, but more that they weren't kind of let me tell you what it's going to be like, because no one really knows. And I think that they would say, even for them coming back to the movies, to this movie after so many years, that I think maybe Mark could speak better to this, that even they have to figure out what it means to them. So I think that's they're kind of lead by example people. That's kind of what I'm avoiding saying, because it's so cliched, but it's more powerful, I guess, when you see it in action. So I think that none of us took it upon ourselves to tell people how it was going to be for them, because we're not them. I don't know that affected our performances in any way. I think everyone was just as equally terrified to figure out what we were doing, and make sure we were looking at space and.
Any others? Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Look at somebody in the back there. Yeah, gentleman with his hand up.
The question is George made the original trilogy very much. We watched it through the eyes of R2-D2 and C-3PO, through the droids, and obviously here we've got R2 and 3PO and BB-8 and BB-9E. So, do we continue to see the story through the eyes of the droids, or are they just passengers on this adventure?
It's different, and it was different in The Force Awakens. It's different in this also. We don't quite have so much the hidden fortress kind of worm's eye view of the story that we started with in those movies. And with this, different story, had different needs, and so we are much more kind of with our leads the whole time.
I'll just quickly add, what I think is amazing about the film is that every character, I don't have a big film knowledge or anything, so I'm not like, oh, this is, so I never understood the structure of what the Star Wars was and what anyone was trying to fulfill. So just as me watching it, I think you really follow the story because you're with every character. Like everything you need to see is happening on screen. You're not seeing things happen off screen that have happened off screen. So people are asking questions on screen, they're getting answers on screen, they're having their adventure on screen. So you're with everyone every step of the way. So how the story's unfolding. And I think it makes for compassionate viewing, because you're really understanding both sides, why people are doing the things they're doing, and how it's being fed from everywhere, and how things collide, and the consequences of people's actions, how they're directly affecting other people.
All right, we'll take another question. There in the back, the woman had her hand up. Right there. Yes, you.
Hi, I'm Kathy with Bella Mommy, and I am a huge Star Wars fan, and I believe every movie we walk away learning something. And in this particular one, what is it that we will be walking away learning?
Everyone's looking at me.
Again, I think that, I think that's a personal kind of thing. For probably some, it will be nothing. For others,
on the poster.
There will be cords.
Porgs are delicious.
I've heard this said, and it's the best way that I understand how seeing a movie in a dark room with people who are total strangers kind of works, whether that be a play or a movie. Is that no one lives in the theater. Everyone has lives outside. Well, I mean, hopefully, and then there's a kind of collective intelligence that happens in the room. And what is rewarding about it is realizing that you all are having a different experience, but at the same time, the same experience.
Not so much a moral of the story, but Ryan, one of the things that you and I have talked about is that a theme that's throughout the movie, all the different storylines, is the perils of meeting your hero and living up to expectations. Is that one thing that maybe connects to her?
That's definitely one of the things, yeah, in it. I mean, it's, you know, I think these movies to some extent are always about, I don't know, to really boil it down, it's, you know, if you look back at Lucas kind of, you know, famously drawing from the hero's journey myth that Joseph Campbell wrote about. And the hero's journey is not about becoming a hero, it's not about becoming Hercules, it's about really adolescence. It's about the transition from childhood into adulthood and finding your place in the world. And you have these new powers that you're feeling inside yourself for the first time. You don't know what to do with them. You don't know who you're going to get help from, who's going to be unreliable, who's not. Navigating those very tricky waters that we all have to navigate. That's why it's so universal. So part of that is you know, your relationship to heroes and people you thought were your heroes, people you don't expect who become your heroes. And that's definitely something that plays out in this film.